Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the question box for Friday. What is it? The 15th of October, 2021. The question box rather is usually your weekly gaming talk show where we cover all the biggest and most important news topics from our industry. But we're doing it a bit different this time. Today we are diving feet first into hell. That's right, it is our Hades spoiler review discussion, and I have a very good friend from the games industry to share in the joy of discussing this game. He is a friend of the show. He's been here before. You know him well. He's the editor-in-chief at Stevivor. Please welcome Steve Wright.
Hello, and I plan on making this just like a dive into fan fiction, not like Hades. Or did you say Hades? Hey, it's about Hades. And also maybe spoilers, but mostly just fan fiction of my own creation. So
that's totally fine. I think Hades is a game that justifies that thirstiness, so that's totally fine.
Did I ruin the game before you said it? I'm so sorry.
That's all right. Hello to Dame Duty Gench in chat. How's it going, my friend? Like I said, yes, you can usually the question box is your weekly gaming talk show. You can find us here right on twitch.tv/magic_cast every Friday, 8:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. You can follow myself at magic_cast on Twitter and catch all our past episodes on my YouTube channel, Magic Cast. Just search it, one word, on YouTube. Steve, before we get into the discussion, would love it if once again you could tell the fine folk about yourself and your beloved website and all the great work you do over there.
Sure. It's one. I'm always like this, so I have no excuse. This is like literally just how I am. I'm like I've tried to be different. It usually goes for the worst. But it's also like that insane time of the year where I am manic at this point, and I there's no excuse for it. That's just how it is. I am the editor of Stevivor, which is the most read independent video games website in Australia, and it's insane right now. I don't know if I can say it, but I'm just gonna say it anyway. Like, my NHL review goes out tonight. It's October, and it's just like a flurry of games. Back for Blood, Forza Horizon previews, everything under the sun, and like we're just getting into it. Like, it ends in December now with, I guess, Halo was probably like the last big one. So I'm going to be like this for the next 2 months. So sorry to everyone I know. That being said, check out Stevivor.com for all of these things, previews, reviews, news, hopefully less horrible harassment lawsuits in the industry, and more good news, but like, that's all happening as well. So we cover everything, good, bad, ugly, hopefully nice, because nice is good. But check it out. Go Australia. I'm very bad at self-promotion, Shane.
That's totally fine. I'm going to help you. Links in chat to Stevivor.com. Like Steve said, it's that time of year. There are so many games coming out and plenty of great coverage to go and enjoy. So go check out all of the great content over there. And also, I'm going to force you to give a shout out to your now very active Twitch channel, Steve, where people can watch along the Stevivor's Friendly Fire show live. So go on.
Oh goodness, did we ever try last night? So Ben Salter, who is long suffering, he's been on the question box as well. He is knowledgeable. He is succinct. He is very much more put together than I can ever hope to be. He and I have, and other people, but it's he and I now. We do a podcast. We're 187 episodes in, and I've decided, he didn't decide, I did it for him, that we're gonna think about doing it on Twitch. So we did last night. I think it went okay.
It
Shane,
went well. I was there.
Thank you.
It was great.
Well, that was very kind of you. And we'll keep trying to make it better and do it. And it's on there. It's on YouTube. It goes out as a podcast, obviously, which you can subscribe to whatever you want. You don't have to look at our faces if you choose not to. We wouldn't blame you if you didn't.
You're missing out if you don't. I'll say that much.
Well, he is very attractive, that Ben Salter. It's good. We just have fun. It's a really cool thing. I struggled a bunch. I don't know how you do it, to be honest, Shane, because I was trying to do it. I had OBS running to do the twitching. That's what you call it. I'm sure you young kids.
Yes, to have strum. Yes, to stream, to strum. That's it.
The chat thing went weird, so I had to like pull out my phone and like have my phone like trying to read the chat of like here as I was doing it. it can be improved upon, I think.
Only
And I was
upwards from here.
Well, God. And I was so nervous. I had a beer over to this side and my computer tower is over on the same side. And I knocked it over and I was kind of looking, like trying to be really like quiet about it. And like I didn't think any liquid got into the tower. And then like literally immediately after we finished the stream, my computer just shut off. And I'm like, that's probably not a good sign. But
Yep.
I'm on the same computer. I cleaned it out this morning. I think it's okay. It's running maybe a little bit hot, but I'm not sure. So if I cut out randomly, it's not because I hate you, Shane. It's
We know
probably
why.
because my computer has died, which means I get to buy a new one. It's a
Yes.
2070 Super, which I probably don't need a new computer at this point. But I guess if I have to buy
If
a
you
new
have to,
one,
yeah. If I have to
buy
get a
a new-
3090, it's totally that's what it needs for the job.
Shucks. But anyway.
Anyway, yes, you did a fantastic job for your first time doing the live show. So yes, encourage everyone to go check it out. I will shout out again to Stevivor. Go follow them on Twitch and watch Steve only improve from here. Let's say.
Well, you'd hope.
Anyway, let's get into the nitty gritty of the show. Of course, we're here to review a game that needs no introduction from a studio that needs no introduction, but I'm going to give them one anyway, just because that's how we like to do things here. Of course, yeah, we're diving into our Hades review discussion, but I thought we'd take a step back and just talk about Supergiant Games, the developer of the game, their past work, and where they come from. So to kick it off, founded in 2009 in San Francisco, California, Supergiant Games is a privately owned independent game development studio of roughly 20 employees. It was founded by Amir Rayo and Gavin Simon, both of whom hailed from EA's LA studio, working on the Command & Conquer series. Rayo and Simon were later joined by former colleague Greg Kasavin, who has served as writer and creative director across all of Supergiant's titles, and notably led games media outlet GameSpot as executive editor for 10 years. Across its 12-year history, Supergiant Games has several critical and commercial hits to its name, including its first title, 2011's breakout indie darling Bastion, an isometric action game published by Warner Bros. Interactive that enjoyed critical and commercial success, fueled partly by its inclusion in Microsoft's Indie Spotlight campaign during the 360 era Summer of Arcade. So Steve, yeah, you mentioned before we went live that Bastion was one of the only games from Supergiant that you had played before Hades. I purposefully listed or mentioned, pardon me, the inclusion of Summer of Arcade here because I remember that's how I found out about it. It was like this heavily promoted title, new game from this brand new studio, and it was a roaring success. What do you remember of Bastion way back in, holy cow, 10 years ago at this point?
Well, first, I very much miss Summer of Arcade and like the arcade itself. Like I know ID at Xbox is similar, but it doesn't feel the same. It's close, but it's not. There's not like a big enough spotlight, I think, on indies, and I think it might just be because there's so many more indie. Well, it's probably not, but like I'm aware of so many more indie games now than I was back in the day, and they're so much more accessible on like infinite platforms. So I do miss that. But if you think of Bastion, like you just think of the narrator, and that's a really bad example of the narrator, but this is how I picture him in my mind. And it's just one of those, and like Hades is, it's one of those indie games that you just jump into and you immediately just know it's good and that you should invest time in it. And it's just it's like a darling. It's well crafted. It's just everything seems to fit so well, and it's not at the cost of like, and there's nothing wrong with having like 8-bit graphics or anything like that, but like it's not like, oh, this is good but like it doesn't look great, or it's really good but the sound is off. It was just like it's just a coherent, amazing package that you just couldn't help but be enamored with. I don't know if is that how you kind of felt like immediately launching in, and
Yeah,
the
definitely.
word of mouth and all that stuff as well.
Yeah. I mean, just quickly to touch on Summer of Arcade, yeah, I too long for the return of Summer of Arcade. I know Xbox and Phil Spencer in particular wanted to move away from the arcade vernacular just because a game's a game, no matter the length and the ambition or the genre. So I totally
like a true marketer.
I totally understand. The leaving the arcade brand behind. But for me, I looked forward to that period in the middle of the year, that American summer, June to August, where, you know, we were guaranteed 4 or 5 prominent arcade games from, you know, sometimes really well-known developers and publishers, and more often than not, there's going to be at least 1 or 2 there that are going to be hits. We got Castle Crashers, Bastion was one of them. Limbo was another year. I think Toy Soldiers was a great hit one year as well. So I think oh no,
Ocean Man, tons of them.
What was the time travel one? The painterly Witness developer.
Shadow? No.
Oh no.
Shadow
Why am I
Warrior.
blanking on
No.
this?
God, no.
The developer of The Witness, Jonathan Blow, his first game.
Oh, that one.
Braid.
Oh, that was not what I was thinking of to begin with, and then I got there in the end. What was I thinking of? Anyway, it doesn't matter.
But anyway, I think it was like 2008.
There were so many good games with arcade, and like that whole that's what we're talking about.
That's the point, exactly. And Bastion came along, and exactly to your point, Steve, it was insanely polished for a game from such a small team, and it's not like it is now, like where like fantastic indie games are launching every month. This was particularly in the console space, something we hadn't really experienced before. Before this, it was kind of AA, AAA. You're a box on a shelf, and then arcade came along and gave us all these cool little digital, unique, sometimes very creative experiences. And Bastion was one of those that I put up there with Braid and Limbo as sort of heralding this great period of fantastic independent games on consoles. So I have fond memories of Bastion. Let's move on now to their second game. The team's next release also found great success and cult classic status, in the 2014 PS4 action RPG Transistor, a game that blends real-time and turn-based mechanics with multi-use character abilities in a stunning world. Now, this one's similar to Bastion, like I just noted, like critically so, like universal praise for this one. I think it released originally in PS4 and was later ported to Vita, and I think it came to PC at the same time. But similar thing here. I mentioned before the show, Steve, that I hadn't played it, but I remember I dived in and it just something didn't quite click for me. I'm not entirely sure what it was. The world was very confusing. You're wielding this sword that's voiced and it talks to you. There's some kind of relationship building between you and Red, the main character. My good friend Jason, who's been on the show, speaks so highly of it. I think it's in his top 5 or top 10 of all time. He loves it. But yeah, for whatever reason, just didn't click with me. Do you remember much of Transistor when it launched?
No, because I guess aforementioned discussion of I'm always busy. Like even when it's not this time of the year, I'm always like I try so hard. My inbox usually when I wake up in the morning, honestly, has like 80 emails from like so many like absolutely well-deserving people who want us to check out their games, and like we kind of have to draw the line at like a certain level of like people knowing it, or like it has an Australian angle, so yes, we're in for it, or like it's a Star Trek game, I'm in. I'll drop everything. Like it has like a very queer development path behind it. Like you kind of have to pick and choose, and like so no, I know nothing about super transistors. No, geez.
Just Transistor.
Thank you. And Pyre even. And even Hades. Like Hades just wasn't on my radar until we were getting into the end of 2020, which I will get back into that story later on. I don't want to get ahead of you, but like I wish, and I'm sure they're amazing, but I just straight over my head. And I feel bad for it. I wish I had time to go back and revisit them, but like I know I'm not going to, so I'm not even going to promise to do it because it's just how it is. Yeah,
that's all right. We'll quickly touch on Pyre, like we just mentioned. It is their third game. It released in 2017, 3 years after Transistor, and it's a game that mixes action RPG elements with sports action. While not as critically well received as Bastion and Transistor, it once again proved to the games industry's Supergiant's incredible versatility. I have this one on Steam. I think they were giving it away when you bought Hades in early access in Steam. So
Yeah.
I will check it out. But yeah, for the moment, I have not played it. Thank you to Hall of Gamers podcast for rating. Hope you had a great stream, guys. I was just in there earlier checking them out, but thanks so much. For those joining us, we are about to dive into our Hades review discussion, spoiler review discussion. But before we do that, we're just touching on Supergiant's background and covering their third game, Pyre. So yeah, I'm keen to check this one out. Again, just like completely different genre, right? I think that's why Supergiant's probably one of my favorite game studios, along with the likes of like Clay Entertainment or Double Fine, in the sense that they can do anything. They'll just jump around and have a go. So yeah, keen to check out
Pyre sounds like the one that I would want to check out the most out of the two that I haven't. And I don't know if I've properly finished Bastion, if I'm being honest, but I got very far, I think.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm the worst.
That's fine. I think some interesting choice, like moral choice stuff going on in Pyre as well, just based on the very little I've read on it. So keen to learn more about that one. But anyway, let's move on now. So yeah, off the back of that versatility, it was no surprise then that Supergiant's follow-up title, Hades, was in a completely new genre as well. Hades was originally announced at the 2018 Game Awards as one of the first third-party titles to join the newly revealed Epic Game Store. It later launched into early access on Steam as well, and on its full release came to Nintendo Switch on September 17th, 2020. The game was recently ported to PS4, PS5, Xbox consoles, and can be enjoyed via Xbox Game Pass at the time of recording, which is great. The game received universal acclaim last year, enjoying a Metacritic score of 93 across all platforms and being nominated for countless Game of the Year awards, many of which it won, including those from Stevivor, IGN, the DICE Awards, and the Game Developers Choice Awards. So widely recognized across the industry as a fantastic game, rightfully so. I think now's the perfect time to jump into our spoiler discussion. So Steve, I might ask, that you mentioned that you hadn't heard much of Hades when in the lead up to its launch, but I'm keen to hear your first impressions when you did dive into it.
Well, it's a good thing it came out on Steam, because I haven't heard of this Epic Game Store, and I'm not sure it's going to do very well. Literally, so we're Survivor's a Game Awards judging outlet, yay us. And thankfully, we have so many amazing, diverse, pretty white cis male, admittedly, writers, and we're working on that, I promise. Who play a very wide range of games. So like Hades didn't hit my radar. I call the shots, so I'm kind of like, if a game comes to us for review and it like the embargo's passed or it's on launch, like we're not going to cover it because I don't like crunch. That's crunch to us. We'll worry about lead time, and like we're not it's not our day jobs, it's our side jobs, so we're not gonna like stress our minds out and our time and our schedules out to try to like compete with the IGNs of the world. Anyway, so when it came time to nominate games, we got like a crazy amount of nominations for Hades. I'm like, okay, what is Hades? I need to figure this out, because like everybody seems to like be liking this, and like that kind of crept, because we're pretty transparent in how we do it. That crept through a lot of people's mindsets, and it was out obviously by then, and it was out on Switch, so I picked it up on Switch and started playing and went, oh, this is pretty good, and then realized I could get it on Steam and do the cross save thing by that point. So I was bouncing between my PC and Switch, and then like by the time it came to settle nominations, I'm like, okay, I want to change mine, I want to put that in as well. So a surprise hit is like such a stupid cliche, but like it's so apt for this. Like it spread through us like a wild, like a Squid Game is in contemporary culture, and even like the likes, I don't want to put words in Ben's mouth, but like Ben's like, I don't know, like I get this, I'm not good at it, but I like it. And like I didn't finish the narrative. I don't think I beat Hades in Hades by the time I'd finished for the nomination period. And then I knew it was, I think pretty closely after that, I knew it was coming out on Xbox, and I'm a big gamer score guy, so I'm like, well, I'll just wait till it's on an Xbox achievement thing proper. And then when it did come out on Xbox, obviously far later. It got our Game of the Year 2020, which you've said, and like a host of other awards that year. I have 1,000 gamer score in Hades because I just loved it so much. I loved the narrative. I loved we'll talk about it. I like the narrative more than the gameplay, I think, but I still like the gameplay. I just couldn't put it down. Just had to get to the end, at least in my mind. I'm sure there's probably more end that's still in my particular save file, but I just thought it was such a compelling game. I wanted to devour it. Which, sorry, I'm rambling now.
No,
Please save me,
that's
Shane.
exactly what I wanted. Yeah, well, just to speak to my experience about how I discovered it. Actually, I should note quickly that I captured footage of my runs. I have footage of late game for spoiler discussion later, and also I just quickly started a new save file just this afternoon to record the early parts, so we could have like a spoiler free discussion at the start here. But bloody Streamlabs won't let me capture VLC windows because, I don't know, digital rights or something. So then I was like, I'll quickly upload it to YouTube, and that was going to take too long. It wouldn't be done by the time we went live. So what you're watching right now is the first 15 minutes, courtesy of IGN's YouTube channel. And later on, there's some late game stuff. And I'll credit that YouTube channel when we start playing it as well. But anyway, back on topic. Yeah, so I
understand how streaming works now. Sorry.
So, that's right. So, yeah, obviously I had really enjoyed Bastion. I knew the Supergiant name, even though I hadn't played Pyre, and I hadn't enjoyed or tried to enjoy Transistor by the time that Hades had launched. Just based on that first trailer, I knew this was something I wanted to try. I'm not sure. I think I just had my first gaming PC by the time it actually, no, I didn't have a gaming PC when it was announced at the end of 2018 at the Game Awards, so it wasn't until 2019 I got my gaming PC. So eventually when it came to Steam, I picked it up early access. I played about 12 or so hours and completely fell in love. I think I mentioned this on the your show, Steve, the Friendly Fire show, which people can go check out on all podcast services, was that I'm a gameplay is king kind of guy, and just the tight mechanics that this is imbued through this entire experience had me hooked from the very beginning. So I knew it was, okay, I'm totally going to play more of this. Let me put it down for now. I'm going to wait for version 1 release whenever it comes. And then, yeah, when it launched into Steam, I think it said September 2020, dived in, and it was really tough. I think I got through the Champions of Elysium, which is the end of the third world, a couple of times. I made it through to the Satyr tunnels, but never quite got to Hades himself. But despite that, was head over heels with the experience, and it was my game of the year last year, even though I didn't really finish it, just because that time I had with it, the 20 or so hours that I had already spent, was the best experience in gaming I had that year. So quite easily it took that crown for me. And then it wasn't until it got ported to Xbox and I was able to enjoy it on a beautiful 4K OLED TV that I was like, okay, this is the time that I want to actually invest and try and beat this thing, because to be quite honest, I had a couple of friends who were just like, oh yeah, no, I finished it, this, that, and the other. And I was like, yeah, no, I've been to Hades like 6 times now. I'm like, oh, like how am I pride myself on my gaming abilities, and I need to try and beat this game. So I went back, and I think after about 27 runs, I think I finally beat Hades. And yes, we'll get into it a bit later, but the first time you beat him, it's infinitely more like easier to beat him subsequent runs as well. So
I will fully admit, I don't think this is a spoiler that I did. I played in God mode the entire time, and I have no regrets, and I don't care. Like, come at
honestly,
me,
yeah, we can talk about that a little later, just about accessibility in general for this game. But yeah, so there's not much else I can say with that before we get into actually the nitty gritty of it all. But I think this game is masterful in everything that it does. Game, story, music, art, pacing, world building. It's really, and I think before we get into those details, Steve, I'd like to quickly just touch on this topic, and that is what can be achieved when you really lean into early access. So this was a game that was in early access for 2 years, first on the Epic Games Store, then on Steam. In that time, it sold 700,000 copies before its version 1 release, which is amazing. and I think really speaks to the community and fan base that Supergiant has built around its games. So that's great. But yeah, like obviously they were afforded the opportunity to fine tune this, take on community feedback, and polish all up until the time that they say that they're ready. And when it ships, we get a Game of the Year contender that, at least for me, will probably land in my top 10 favorite games of all time. So yeah, I suppose I just want to throw that topic out there. Early access. Are you in agreement with me that we should see more of this?
Yes and no. It depends. It like I don't know. It's yes. Like for every Hades and for every Phantom Abyss, to me there's like like a Star Citizen where it's like okay, like are you taking it of or like a Darwin project even. I'm just like trying to think of like like ooh, like is this early access or are you just like seeing if it's good or not, or are you just like trying to get some cash, or like I don't know, like so and I it's I'm not trying to like poo-poo on anyone, but if you do it right, then I will be all for it. I will be all with you. If you kind of if it very quickly will start to seem predatory in some situations, and that's where I just do not like it. And that's it's not just for early access games. That goes like betas and technical tests that are like are you actually testing server loads right now and seeing how many people you can get on your multiplayer servers without things breaking, or are you just like is this like meant to be a demo? Like what is your actual intention? Are you doing the right thing by it? So I hate to say that I'm very jaded at this point, Shane. So generally with early access I'll be a little bit skeptical, but I can be won over, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think they're definitely valid concerns, right? I think I point to the numerous, particularly games as a service titles that when they launched, this past or the previous generation, I should say at this point, they were, a lot of them were met with similar criticism. Is this all that there is? I point mainly to the likes of Sea of Thieves and No Man's Sky as great examples of games that, look, with time have become fantastic experiences and have been able to be fleshed out, thanks in part to a very vocal community providing that ongoing feedback to the developer, and a developer willing to put in the time to build upon that experience and provide something that's really great. So I think I'm really just focusing on those experiences. Like, hey, like, if this was a plan all along, then why wasn't early access considered, right? So anyway, yeah, that was just my little side tangent on early access. But let's dive now into some nitty gritty. Steve, you mentioned the story of Hades as one that stood out to you more so than the gameplay, and I would love to start there in all facets of what the story is able to achieve. Firstly, you've got like a narrative structure that is linear to some sense, but like a vocal system that needs to be flexible because it's not told in the exact same way for every single player. So yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts on what you love about this story.
Well, I'm an English major, so I did mythology in university, and so like a lot of it just was like, ooh, I know this. This is great fun. So Hades is a very simple loop. Like you're trying to escape the underworld, and in doing so, you go through three distinct worlds, sub underworld worlds.
Sure, remember Tartarus, Asphodel, and Elysium.
Thank you. And then the Seder pit, and then you eventually get out and go to grid. Anyway, so are we spoiling yet? I don't know. You don't do that. Maybe
we'll spoil later. We'll spoil later.
All right. Yeah. So you go to an endpoint, and you run into like Olympian gods. You run into you're in Hades. You're not in Hades. Well, you are in Hades, and Hades is it Hades? No, it's God. You're in the underworld, and it's Hades.
Yeah, you're Hades realm, the underworld.
You're in hell,
and
or whatever.
And you're Zagreus, his son. Yes.
And your adopted mother is Nyx, and there's all these cool. It's lore-rific, and that's what drew me in, because I sort of knew about Zagreus and I knew about the setup and that was the compelling bit. and I was very bad at the actual combat for a while. Like sometimes I just felt like I was on. I could not be felled, and then at other times it kind of just turned into a button mashing affair, and that's probably just more speaking to my skill level than like what the game is putting at you. And I'm like, so I kind of fell off at times. I came back on. I put on God mode, which is a setting that makes it a little bit easier. When you die, you get I think 2+ to your, or 2% to your defense, or your, what, I don't know, you're not taking damage meter, which is just a nice way of, like, the point is to die. The point is to keep dying and trying and coming back and trying. And if you get out, excellent. And if you don't, well, you try again. It's Groundhog Day. It's Deathloop. It's, like, there's a lot of weird looping games like this.
Yes, like, I can't believe what we're about 30 minutes into the stream now, and I haven't said the word roguelike.
I just said all of those ones right now.
I should have explained the actual game itself.
Well, no, but like that's the beauty of it. You learn very quickly. Like you're not meant to like succeed first go.
Yeah.
And like Zagreus emerges and he's like, well, I tried. And it's like, let's have a crack again. And it's just like he as a character is so compelling, and like I'm not trying to spoil yet, but like you learn about how Supergiant was going to position some characters and what they ended up doing, and you're like, that's a really good decision you made, because I want to destroy that character. I want to get back there and make sure and it's just like, there's so many reasons to just keep trying, and you're feeling that as the player, but you're also feeling that as Zagreus, and it's just like, it's not gameplay to me. It's more the narrative and the goal and really identifying with the character and what you aim to do, and it's really hard to put down in that respect.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect marriage of the narrative completely fitting the gameplay structure, right? In the sense that in any other roguelike game, sometimes it can be really difficult to explain why you are dying over and over again, being reborn and trying again. So the fact that like they set that in a world where that completely makes sense is so very smart. I wonder like where this idea was born. I'm gonna have to go back and watch the NoClip documentary series, which I'll link in chat at the moment. So basically, Danny O'Dwyer, one of the former editors at GameSpot, started his own video game documentary company called NoClip. Hopefully many of you have heard of it already, but he was allowed great, extensive behind the scenes access to Supergiant during the course of the development of Hades. They document the impact that early access had on the game. There are several episodes talking about the development process, so highly encourage you, if you do enjoy Hades, to go check that out, because it is amazing. The link to the first episode is in chat. But I'll completely agree with you, Steve, just on the story in general. Fascinating characters. As someone who only very vaguely knows like some of the names around Greek mythology, it was a real treat for me to learn about all these other gods and the relationships, and all these different characters in the underworld. Like, I know Hades and Zeus, and I've heard of Ares and Athena, mostly because I've seen the Hercules Disney movie. Like, that's probably the extent of it, really. I'm so very sorry.
I'm not judging you nor feeling old.
So that's kind of where I'm like, like I've always been fascinated by, like, obviously I know Achilles because I've seen Troy essentially, and the story with obviously his heel. But that was kind of the extent of my knowledge. It's getting hot over in Steve's apartment.
I'll just fix what is happening with my camera. I apologize.
It's all right.
And it's distracting you, and I shouldn't let it. I apologize profusely.
No, it's all right. But I was really, really enamored by all the characters here. So much so that even after completing the game, that I made sure that were there any bonds with characters that I hadn't forged yet, let me go do those. All these side missions and quests that allow you to unlock all these new things that I still haven't done after 80-90 hours in the game, that I'm motivated to go back to and complete, because one, like the individual stories of these characters and how they relate, and their relationships evolve over the course of the game is fascinating. I'm speaking particularly about Zagreus and Thanatos, who you see on screen at the moment, Zagreus and Megara as well, Nyx and Chaos. Like, there are so many amazing relationships in this, and every single character is voiced amazingly. I really wish, I don't think the voice actor for Hades, I'm gonna have to look up his name now, won the Game of the Year award. Sorry, the Game of the Year awards at the Game Awards for his vocal performance.
No, I think it was like Last of Us.
I think it was, yeah.
Actors.
That's right, yeah.
They were also very good. Like, just,
true.
Voice actors in general don't get enough credit for what they do. But
tough competition. But it is some of the best I've heard, and I think I mentioned this on your show as well, Steve, when we were talking about it. But the fact that they imbue these characters with so much personality, and they're not animated, they're just very beautifully well illustrated characters on the screen, like you're seeing either side of us right now, with just voiceover. And there's more personality in those static images than you get in I will like easily contest most video games by a long stretch. So,
and I was kidding about like fan fiction and like fan art and stuff, but like honestly, like they're so stylized and so perfect. They have inspired people to go and create a lot of safe for work art and a lot of not safe for work art, and like either set is worth looking at.
Oh,
fantastic!
Yeah, either's fine by
Do
me.
recommend.
So feel free to tweet me any Hades fanfic that you're enjoying.
I will
right
send
now.
it to you in Discord. It's not, well, I guess it is. It's safe to put on Twitter as per Twitter standards, but I don't know if I should be posting it from my own Twitter account to yours. So there you go.
Anyway, before we
now that you've asked, I'm a big Zagreus Thanatos shipper. So
yeah.
You've done this to yourself.
I can only, got myself to blame. Before we completely move off the story, there was a great episode by a YouTube channel, People Make Games, that details the system behind Hades' astounding dialogue. So I'm going to link that in chat as well. Definitely worth checking out. And the fact that, like these different characters and their stories can happen 5 minutes in or 5 hours into your experience. And so the dialogue system needs to change based on where you're at, and it's truly a remarkable work of engineering in game development. So yeah, definitely encourage you to go check that one out. Let's talk about gameplay, Steve, because this is just, like I said, gameplay is king for me. This is the hook that keeps me coming back, and I also want to tie in pacing to this because I think this is probably the most well-paced game I've played since Arkham City. And what I remember of Arkham City is the great job it did in giving you new tools for Batman's belt, and drip feeding you so very well. Like, just when you thought maybe you were going to get bored of the most recent ability you got, they give you a brand new one, and it opens the world up. And that is like a 3D Metroidvania, right, where you can revisit certain areas and unlock certain things based on the new abilities you unlock. So at least for me, from a pacing perspective, I think Hades is that's probably one of its crown achievements. Not sure how you feel about it.
I think you're right. I think that there's a very fine line between like an Arkham City and an Arkham Knight, where I feel like Arkham City hit it and Arkham Knight tried to do a little bit more and just did too much. And Hades is that nice sweet spot of like you're always feeling challenged, but you're not feeling overwhelmed, and there's not like, oh, I didn't like twist my arm in this way to like hit right trigger and X and left bumper at the same time to activate this. And like by the time you get like a companion, you're used to like it's everything is introduced in a really nice way, and you're putting in the effort, and there's a variety of weapons to use. You obviously can only choose one like primary weapon per run, so you can either kind of like go through them all as you go, or you like I don't know what you did, but I stuck to like the spear and then the shield, and like I'm used to this now. I know when I can be aggressive, I know when I need to slow down and be more defensive, I know when I should be dodging, and all the weapons that play so differently. Like you really do need to change up how you approach not only like a room. Well, not only a world, but a room is probably the better way to put it. Like you should play differently in Elysium than in
Asphodel,
Hellfire Land. Thank you. I just
Hellfire
forgot
Land.
all the names of the places. Like you have to play differently, especially like, you're used to dodging. You've spent like an entire set of world, like dodging pretty freely, and like, oh, maybe there's some spikes over there, but then you get to like the next, like tier up, and it's like the floor is lava. So rethink how you've done this, and it's like, oh, okay, like you really need to switch it up and be very thoughtful and mindful of how you do everything, really.
Yeah, definitely. I'll quickly get to chat. Luke from Maxi Geek join us. How are you, Luke? Good to see you, my friend. Hades is a wonderful game. It just offers enough each time to keep players coming back. Plus, you have to adapt to whatever enemies appear in any given room. Yeah, exactly what we were just talking about, right? I think for me, like I was very similar to you, Steve. In those earlier runs, I had my favorites. The shield and the bow were it for me. The shield in particular because you can just hold X to charge up your bull rush, and at least from whatever direction you're facing, you're completely protected. So that was just like a nice feeling of safety for me, which I really leaned into. But by the time that I eventually got to the stage where I'd beaten Hades, there was a part of me that's like, I don't know if do I really want to do another run with the railgun? Like I really don't enjoy it. But eventually, I found the fun. I found, I found
spearing gloves.
I found the way to really, leverage the strengths of each weapon that was unlocked, and so much so that the first time I think I beat Hades, I think I was using the fists actually, and I wasn't even attempting to beat Hades. I was just trying to unlock this particular thing that was hopefully going to set me up better for when I was, actually going to really try and beat Hades. You find yourself just in these different grooves that I didn't anticipate feeling, and it got to the point where I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I know how to use a railgun now, and I'm going to unlock this different aspect of the railgun that's going to alter my combat behavior in some way, and that means that these Olympian boons, which we haven't even touched upon at this point,
I was gonna say,
are more viable in this instance as well. Let's talk about just like the infinite layers that this game has. 6 different weapons, 4 different aspects for each weapon. 10 Olympians with different boons that have different applications and effects depending on where you place them, whether they are on your attack, your special, your cast, your dash. You have your call, which is just one of the most badass mechanics in a game that I've ever experienced, where you build up that meter and you call in Zeus and the lightning comes pouring down. It's every element of those different gameplay mechanic layers are so immensely satisfying. I've just gushed completely, Steve, so feel free to wind me back and pick it apart as you please.
It's so make or break. Like I was gonna jump, because like it's me. I was gonna jump into achievements, and like there's 2 tied to the broken butterfly, and I think there's one from Hermes. And like we'll get to that. Try to remind me if I don't remember. But like we need to talk about the boons, because they're literally make or break. And like I'm adequate. I'm not amazing. Like I can hold my own. I've got 1,000 gamer score. I did all the things. But like I had friends being like, oh, it took me 80 runs to finish the entire game, get all the achievements. I'm like, well, it took me considerable. That's fine. It doesn't matter. I had fun doing as many runs as I did, and I'm not gonna tell you how many. But like when you get the Neptune dash, which does the knockback boon, you're like, oh, okay, oh, that's just made like the sadder level like just infinitely easier now. Like I can take a break. I don't need to worry about that. I'm like, oh, I've got like Artemis's like shield as I use my special. Like there are runs where you're just like, I guess I can make this work because I just happen to come across, like it's a roguelike. Like this is what you get this time. You're juggling these things. You choose what you're gonna, try to succeed with, and your own playstyle. The weapon that you're using. Like sometimes it just doesn't work, and you're like, well, I'll give it a red hot go, and then sometimes you're like, I am unbeatable. Nothing will stop me. And it's cool because it's just kind of like it's the luck of the draw, and that's what makes it engaging. That's what makes it different from the last run that you did and the one that you're gonna do next. And it's never ever the same game, and it's not because like, ooh, the enemy placement was different this time. It's like, no, like everything is different. Like you understand that there's like the 3 tiers of what you need to get to the end, but like it's never the same. And you might come across this character, and you might not come across this character, and that's getting into narrative, which gameplay, but I guess it's still gameplay because it does, they sometimes have things that help you as you progress. It's cool, and like at some point, like if I'm the achievement guy, I'm trying to get all these achievements. You're sort of playing in the back of your head like, oh well, I need to do this, but then there's this pull of like, yeah, it might be better to go and like go down this path because like you can go and talk to person A or person B. But there's like a trident there, and that could be that Neptune knockback thing that I desperately always want all the time. So it's like, it takes a lot for a game to like take me out of just full on achievement hunting, and it's always a good thing when that happens, I think. So I applaud it for making me less of a numbers guy, I suppose, is the best way to put it.
Luke in chat says the game has as many layers, or the combat and mechanics have as many layers as there are levels in Tartarus. And he says what is cool about the boons is that some of them work so well with others. When you get 3 or so that are paired so well, is just such a wonderful feeling. Yeah, I completely agree. And to the original discussion point we were sort of leaning into with regards to how many layers this game sort of piles on. Like you start to get deeper into the game after a few more runs, and then you realize there are duo boons where 2 different gods come together and their status effects are applied in such unique ways. One of my favorites, and one of my favorite Olympian gods. I'm keen to hear which Olympian god was your favorite, Steve. But I loved from the first time you're introduced to him, Dionysus, the god of wine. He is such a character. There you go. He's such a character. His first introduction was like, "Hey, Zag, man, how's it going? Look, I saved you a spot up here on Mount Olympus. Like, can't wait for you here. Let me try and help you out." And he's just such a cool guy. That personality was just like true throughout the entire experience. And he has this great ability that if you apply it to your cast called Festive Fog, and you throw your cast, and essentially starts to shock and sort of debilitate enemies that get caught in it. And when you pair that with Zeus, lightning comes pouring down on anyone stuck in the Festive Fog. So cool, and like visually as well, just so satisfying to watch happen on screen. But Steve, yes, I'm not gonna let you go free from this one. You need to pick one god. Who was your favorite?
I would have also picked Dionysus, but I think Artemis comes a very close second. She has the boon that whenever you use, I think it's whenever you use like a normal or like just like an arrow as well, or maybe it's even tied to like your dash as well. Like that. Tied with Neptune's knockback, tied with like I know when I can combine a couple things, like, oh, okay, it doesn't matter what weapon I have, I need to have like 7 extra lives or whatever. I don't need to like spend money. Like I'm done. Like I know what to do here now, and it's perfect.
Yeah.
And like the worst / best times in the game are when you get to, it's not a duo room, but it's like a room where you have 2 boons and you have to choose which one you pick first, and you've like pissed off your second friend.
Trials
I
of the
like
gods,
Artemis better than you, Zeus. I'm really sorry, dude. But also like you know that you're gonna benefit in the end because it's gonna be okay. But then like Dionysus, when you piss him off, like he has the area of effect. So does Artemis actually. There's a couple like ones that you don't want to pick last because you just will have a bad time of it.
Yeah. 100%.
Which is also really cool. It's like, oh, I respect you, and you get pissed off when I don't respect you enough, and like that, more respect for you, I guess, in that case.
Yeah, more often than not, if Athena was one of the choices, I'm leaving her till last because she just temporarily makes enemies invulnerable. Like I can deal with that. That's totally fine. But when Ares is coming at you with blade rifts just spawning everywhere, and Zeus is throwing lightning at you, yeah, it's so very
but
much
on
more
Elysium with the weird like black eyed dudes, like them being invulnerable is like make or break between them respawning is like shield men or whatever they happen to be. I will very selectively pick when I piss her off.
Yeah, totally understand your choice on Artemis though. Yeah, she has all these different critical hit effects as well, which are just so very powerful once you upgrade them using the Palms of Power and whatnot. But yeah, Support Fire I think is the name of that boon that you had mentioned, where anytime you attack, special, dash, cast, support arrows that do like 10, 12, 16 damage just go firing out to anyone and everyone. It's amazing. And again, just like So I think another area, maybe we can get into art here as well, is just like another area I want to commend with this game is its visuals. Like yes, it's stunning, and we can talk for 10 minutes on how beautiful the game is, but also it's one of those things where yes, if you're not familiar with the game and you look at Hades for someone who's 30 hours in, they've got all these different, like 12 different boons stacked on top of one another, you're not going to know what you're looking at. But when you're in the heat of the battle, and you understand the build that you've created, the visual design and like it's communicated so cleanly and so well, that at least to me, it's a fantastic achievement of design, in the sense that yeah, all the different Olympian gods are assigned a particular color, so when you see their boons happening on screen, you understand what's going on. You understand when an enemy is afflicted by Demeter's chill because they've got this blue-gray tone to them. Yeah, I really can't speak highly enough of that part of the game.
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely.
I feel like there are... After you.
No, I was gonna say you've said that so well. I don't have anything to say, and then I've just cut you off.
No, that's
unintentionally.
Fine.
I
I still wanted to lean more into the gameplay and the different layers, because we haven't really spoken about what's happening back at the House of Hades after you either complete a run or you die, in the sense that there are so many other meta elements to the game that are altering and changing the way that different runs are completed, and you can sort of customize that to your liking. You have the mirror, the dark mirror, Nyx's mirror, forgetting
Mirror
the
of Shadows.
Mirror,
No, something like that.
Something like that.
It's in your bedroom. It's a mirror. It's obvious. You walk into it. You have
But yeah, you're investing darkness, which is a currency you accrue throughout each run, and that's permanent, right? Like those are permanent upgrades that allow those those subsequent runs to get easy with time. If you're anything like me, you invested hard into Death Defiance straight away to get those extra lives. I think everyone's done that.
Well, yeah, of course you do.
You need
I needed them, and I had God mode the entire time.
Yeah, so I was blown away by that. Eventually, you get the Fated List of Prophecies, which are these essentially side quests that you complete, that you start to complete over the course of your many runs throughout the game. That unlock different story elements and different like gemstones, which allow you to upgrade certain regions within the underworld with things that'll help you, like a well of health randomly scattered around, whether it be Tartarus, Asphodel, or Elysium, so they're handy as well.
Yeah.
So there are too many things to mention. Like we could just keep going
you
and going.
How many little like things that you just it's not like that from this. By the time you're your 100th run, of course, like I'm at a fountain. But like you need to make that happen. You need to you need to get the renovation. You need to speak to Boldy. You need to do all these things to like set up your game to benefit you. And you honestly do forget about that, being like an experienced Hades player at the end as compared to when you start, because it does such an and this goes back to narrative and gameplay. It does such an expert job of like just like getting you used to it and teaching you how to succeed and getting you there, and also making you feel like you're doing it, not like it's just like handing you upgrades and handing you this. Like you have to fight for it, you have to earn it, you have to work for it, which is perfect.
Yeah, and that's all the while feeding into Zagreus' story, right, where he's throwing himself at each run in order to escape. And maybe now we can start to make our way into spoiler territory is what I'm trying to say. Because Luke in the chat, it says, to be fair, even if you complete a run, you still die. So plus you can also gift nectar to folks around the place to learn more about them and occasionally embarrass the Furies. Yeah, like again, the game does a masterful job of just continually drip feeding you things to do and to care about. And to your point, Steve, like when you're building, everything feels earned, right? Nothing is spoon-fed to you. We haven't touched upon the 30 keepsakes or whatnot that you're unlocking and upgrading at the same time. And this is something I mentioned on your show as well, Steve. Like even after you roll credits, or even after you complete the epilogue, there are things that are still happening that you can work towards, like Skelly's prizes or the Pact of Punishment, which alters the different regions and enemy behaviors to make it even more difficult. I am now like I've only ever once attempted the extreme conditions pact of punishment, where it alters the behavior of each of the underworld bosses. I can quite easily get through the Fury Sisters, the Bone Hydra, and the Champions of Elysium with their altered forms, but Hades with extreme
I didn't
conditions.
do it. I read about it. I didn't do it. Like nope, thank you.
Steve, it's insane. It's insane. It's insane. Like he's spawning mini bosses that have armor, like the giant crystal thing that shoots out the lasers.
Oh, that's the worst one.
Like the giant butterfly ball that's just pestering you. Like you have to fight that at the same time as Hades, and then Cerberus like gallops through and like will knock you over and take off half your health. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's so hard, but like as someone who loves this game, I'm now motivated to beat him. I'm just like, oh, I need to beat him. Like he thinks he's got a win over me, but like I'm too proud. I need to win.
I'm not gonna do that, but I appreciate that you are, and I like that I start the worst one, and then you name the next one. I'm like, oh, okay, oh, no, the butterfly thing is worse, and you're like, oh, Cerberus just comes in, and like, okay, no, yep, nope.
Yeah,
he's the worst, and then there's still Hades, which is he's probably the actual worst on top of all those things.
Well, that's the thing. Like because when you're versing Hades, obviously you reduce his health bar once, and he gets back up all angry again, and then you have to beat him a second time. With the extreme conditions, I beat him 2 times, and then he has a 3rd health bar. I was like, and I'd run out of Death Defiance anyway. So.
And like every single thing is earned, like you were saying. So like you don't have infinite amounts of nectar or ambrosia. So it's like, okay, I really have to think about what I want to do. Like I want to give this to Perseus. Like I need to save one. I haven't seen Artemis for a while, and maybe I should I'll give it to her, and maybe hopefully I wouldn't even run into Perseus anyway. And then you did it, and then it's you really need to think about what you're doing, and everything that you do is for a purpose. Every single thing you do is for a purpose, and you have finite resources, and you can't hope to really like you can go to the whatever the in the kitchen of Hades' house vendor and trade things.
Yeah,
but like I really need some nectar, but I then I won't have keys, and I could have used the keys to do this, and everything. It's such a well balanced currency system. Like everything is so very important, and you're never like awash in A, so you can just get B. Like it's like, I need to sacrifice this for this if I want to do this, but is that the smart move? And it's everything's so calculated, and it's annoying, but it's also like so compelling.
Yeah, I completely echo what you're saying, in the sense that that's happening between runs, like you were describing, but it's also happening within the runs themselves. Like there have been many times where I get to the Seder tunnels and I've got half health. I've only got 1 Death Defiance. I have the Seder sack, so I could go take on Hades right now. But what if I've got enough coin that if I just do another Seder tunnel, maybe I run into a Well of Charon, and maybe the dice roll in my favor and I get to buy another Death Defiance. But what if I go and I don't get it, and I leave with less health than I have right now, or I lose a Death Defiance again? What if I run into that little bastard of a rat thing that's just like impossible to kill? I'm just
and I'm running a keepsake that needs like 6 more runs to level up to the 3rd star. So like, I should just do it. And then you run into like an impossible enemy and you die. Well, I've rolled the dice and I lost. Like there's so many. It's so hard to try to like articulate every single thing to do in this game, because it never feels overwhelming. Like you understand every risk when it's time to take it, which is fantastic.
Yeah, Before we move into spoiler territory, I do want to just quickly give credit to the footage you're seeing on screen right now. It's from Silent Long Plays is the YouTube channel. So yeah, they've got seemingly the whole Hades game. Like I'm looking at part 2 of 9 at the moment, and this particular part 2 goes for 4.5 hours. So I reckon he's finished the entire game and just uploaded it on YouTube. So go check out that
We are
channel.
not talking for 4.5 hours, Shane. I am drawing the line at some point.
Before answering one more question, Jason Mira, friend of the show, joins in chat and says, reckon Supergiant will continue work on this or a new IP? Obviously, Steve, we just talked recently about the fact that they're a studio that likes to jump from genre to genre, game to game. But this is by far their most successful title critically and commercially. Obviously, roguelikes are hugely in vogue at the moment. Do you think we could see them revisit this game, or for story reasons, maybe they don't?
I think there. It's well, you know what? It's our game of the year. I'm gonna say it's perfect. Like nothing is actually perfect, but it's as perfect as it can be. And I feel like if you meddle with this, it will probably come out worse than better. So just leave it be. We have resolutions to stories. If you like, and that's the thing. Like you can finish this game at like I don't know 4 or 5 or 6 or I don't know whenever you could finish it once, beat it once, you get to the end once. We're not in spoilers yet. I guess we've already kind of alluded to it. You know what I mean? You could finish that and be like, I'm done. I did it. I have achieved my mission. Or you can, like do infinite more runs to get to every single heart, every single story conclusion. And then kind of when you get to that point, you realize that the story is more than getting to the end.
Yeah.
So then it's just like this perfect loop. Let me say loop 17 more times, but like it's so expertly crafted. Like don't touch it, just leave it.
Yeah,
Let it
I know what you mean. I think I just want to see more of this world and these characters. So if they never work on a new Hades game, that's totally fine. But maybe get a licensing deal and do like a TV show like on Mount Olympus, so I can see all these gods, just their stories. I would love that. I just want more of these characters, honestly.
The brilliant thing about mythology, Shane, is that in some form or another, that is already done. You can
true.
go and find out more about these people. So
this is true.
It's not a Supergiant initiative, obviously, but
yeah.
I feel like a lot of these stories, it got me back into mythology, to be honest. Like,
wow,
and it's not Supergiant's mythology, but like it got me back in, and like games like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, same idea, like same like ooh I like this again. So like, and I like that, and I'm that kind of weird, like OCD. Like fan person where like I'll go and watch an old episode of Star Trek or something, like spend 8 hours on Memory Alpha, like like reading about like this random starship that appeared in one episode of The Next Generation, but was like a new starship, and here's all the canon stuff behind it. Like that's the best thing that a piece of media can do, is make you so engaged that you go and try to like find out more. And it's like it might not be from Supergiant, but like there is a ton of this mythology that you can just wrap yourself up in like a warm blanket. So do it if you're engaged.
Yeah, I think I will, because I'm fascinated by so many of these different characters. So maybe we don't get what Luke is pitching in chat, which is Hades 2 Electric Cerberus.
Boogaloo.
Maybe not. Anyway,
he is such a good boy, though.
He's a good boy. He's a good boy. I'm going to draw the line here. This is where we're going to dive into spoiler territory. I don't think we're going to spend too much time delving into it, but we'll see where the conversation takes us. And in the background, I'll have running. I just found the section of Silent Long Plays video where he's taking on Hades. So he's hoping that we see the result of a fruitful win and what happens after you beat Hades. But let's dive into it, Steve. Obviously, yeah, the crux of this story is Zagreus wanting to escape the underworld to find his mother, who at the very beginning of the game he believed was Nyx, right? But he later finds out that Nyx is his adoptive mother, and Persephone is his...
Persephone, buddy.
Oh, sorry.
Anyway, sorry. You said it wrong, but that's fine. I'll allow it.
That's how they say it in the game.
Did I pee plosive like the mic and wreck my camera?
That's
I apologize again.
Persephone. Oh, look, I mean, it doesn't have so it's out because I don't want any spoilers. All good, my friend. Thanks for joining us.
Oh,
Yeah, so
sorry.
so yeah, Persephone is his mother, and yeah, after you beat Hades, you get to meet her, and that's not. Oh, okay, jokes. He's sticking around. You've completely
Get
thrown
good.
me
You
off
haven't
now.
even beat Hades once. Come on, man.
But yeah, so obviously, like I mentioned on your show, Steve, like you can beat this game once, like kill Hades, so to speak, and meet Persephone and have a feeling of accomplishment, right? And step away and never touch it again. But that's not where it ends. Like you realize that Zagreus can't stay on Earth for that long. He's the fates have sort of cursed his existence up there, and he begins to fade away very quickly. Shortly after he's able to meet with Persephone just outside of, or in Greece actually. Yeah, it's in Greece.
In Greece,
not too
and
far
then
from Mount
he
Olympus.
succumbs to the river Styx.
That's it. The boatman Charon takes him on his way. So yeah, so like, before we get any further into that, like, what were your thoughts on the story overall, and how that's kind of that arc with Persephone plays out and also concludes?
It's so bittersweet because like you finish the first time and you're like, I'm the best. Met every goal, and like a part of you knows, like, you've just spent, I don't know, however many 20, 10, 2 if you're amazing, like, runs, knowing that you go back to the start and you try again. Like, I don't know, it'd be nice, I guess, if you just went, oh, did it, I'm the best. But also, like, I knew better to begin with because I'm really smart. I did mythology in university. But like, it's super bittersweet because like you find your real mother, and she thought you were dead, and it's like this amazing reunion. Like, it's cut so short because you can't be there. And you just, if you want to see her again, you're gonna have to go through this entire ordeal again, and you're only gonna get, I don't know, 3 minutes. I don't know what it is in game actual time, but like, you just, and so it's a cool transition of like, I escape to, okay, I can't escape, but I want to spend time with my biological mother, and it's a very finite time, and I don't know anything about her. I need to just keep trying so I can engage with her. And then that's not even the end of the story. If I'm going too far ahead, tell me to stop. But that, like, and it just drops in, like, we need to talk to the Olympians. We gotta, like, Nyx is in chaos. Like, it's all these, like, you think you have one goal, and then that goal just continues to evolve into like this branching tree of like, I am like the focal point, and I can make everyone's life better, including my own. And it's just like, it's super and that's when, like, yeah, the gameplay is great, but like, that's where the narrative to me is like, it's all about this. Like, I want to find out everything about everyone. I want to make everybody happy. I want to decorate my room. I'm gonna put a Dionysus thing up in my room where he's awesome. It's like, that's the game to me.
Yeah.
And it's never about gameplay. It's just about like the means to the end, really. Which is not to say that the gameplay is bad, but it's like, it's about the narrative to me.
Oh, the video capture that we're watching right now, he didn't beat Hades, so unfortunately we didn't get to see Persephone there. I'll try and skip ahead and find.
Was it the extreme measures one, or was it just normal?
No, just normal.
Get good, mate.
Anyway, yeah, like you touched upon it beautifully, Steve, and that is, at least for me, like, this is another example of just how masterfully Supergiant has able to execute a game in the roguelike genre using narrative that essentially facilitates the reason why you're required to completely repeat these runs, right? In the sense that, yeah, you eventually reach the end, like, for all intents and purposes, this should be the end of the story, but no, they invent a new story mechanic that means that, yeah, you're going to have to continue playing the game if you want to get much further. And it's completely complementary to the story that you want to do that. Like, I don't get there, I'm like, oh, well, this sucks. Turns out I can't actually be with my biological mother, so no, I'm not playing this game anymore. It's like, no, you are truly motivated to continue those run attempts and get more story, and just allow Zagreus those few minutes each time to spend with spend with his mum, and all the pain of going through Tartarus and Asphodel and Elysium again, and to have another go at beating Hades is all worth it just to get that bit of extra time. If we move the story forward a bit more, rolling credits means spoilers. We're in spoiler territory. Just warning everyone in the chat. Rolling credits means convincing Persephone to be reunited with her husband Hades in the underworld and to rule alongside him as queen. And that takes a few attempts. Like, you need to get to Persephone a few times. You start to have conversations with your father around why you didn't tell her about yourself. Like, Zagreus is questioning, why did you never tell mum that I exist, or that I didn't die at childbirth. And then you find out that, like, he's protecting her from the Olympian gods, and that there's the reason why she stayed away for so long. So, and then eventually, rolling credits means bringing her back. A beautiful family portrait being displayed in Hades' main chambers as well. But yeah, and I suppose we'll stop here and discuss that. Steve, keen to get your thoughts on that. But yeah, the story doesn't end there, right? But at least for the moment,
No.
rolling credits. Yeah, what did you think of that whole chapter, I suppose?
Well, and like, there's so much more to it as well. But like, I'm not like trying to detract from your summary, but like, as you're learning about Persephone, you're learning that, like, you know, like, Nyx did all this stuff to, like, just help you as a little kid with burning feet, and like, no one's life has been great because of all the things they've had to do to kind of like make what they feel is an equilibrium, I guess. And then it's not. And then Zagreus comes in, is like, I can, and then like you start to do that, and that's getting to that point. And then there's like the other, you know, step of then going to the Olympian gods afterward. It's sad. Like, you feel bad for all of these people, and all, like, it's a lot of sacrifice. Like, and Zagreus obviously sacrificing, you know, like, his own life, I suppose, every run that he does to try to get to his goals. But like, everybody has their own sacrifices. And why can't I remember the name of the dude who's, when you go in on the left and he's with Perseus, what is his name?
Oh,
Please help
Hypnos?
me. No,
Oh,
the
Achilles.
other guy. Achilles, thank you. God. Like, just no one's happy. And then there's the musician. Why have I just forgotten everybody's name?
Eurydice is,
and
then you've got what's his name?
You get, if you've played it, you're in spoiler territory. You get what we're talking about. Like,
yeah.
Everyone is unhappy, really, and like, and you can fix all of that. So like, it's not just your mom. It's, and like, I've talked about this before, but like, it's such, you just feel you feel so connected to everyone to begin with, and the writing is so good that you feel bad for what they've had to do to kind of survive, I guess, to that point. And then that's when you just go, like, I can fix this. I can fix that. I can fix this. And you can choose not to, I suppose. But like, who does that? You're a horrible person if you do. So like, you if you want to play the game proper, says me, judging how you play a thing, like, you have to fix all of the things to get to not just you happy with your mom and your dad and your adopted mother and who she wants to be with and everything under the, like, it's just, already, like, you're just like, oh, well, you need to make them happy, and then them, oh, but then there's them, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Did I answer your question, or did I just
no? Like, you've touched on so many things that I want to, like, quickly give input on as well, and that is how well written all those characters you mentioned are as well, right? Like, and again, this is just complementing the game further, and it just really gets you to care about everyone that you interact with. Nyx in particular, like you mentioned when talking about her relationship with Zagreus and how much love she shows as an adoptive mother. You really feel as though just the way she talks and the things she's saying, that she is a being that's been around for millennia, and she's so wise and accepting and understands that, you know, it's all written in the fates, so to speak. And same with Achilles, right? Like, you get a great sense of personal responsibility that he feels towards you, acceptance for his own fate and why he's here, and what he's done in his past to wind up here, and he's completely accepting of that. The fact that I when I think of these characters, I think of their past, their present, and how they feel about their own circumstances. I mean, how many other video game characters can you say that about? And there are dozens scattered throughout this game that I feel exactly the same way for. So yeah, like to bring it back to the main story arc, I suppose. Yeah, I really thought it was. I was very happy that this game had a happy ending, so to speak. You find out after like you roll credits. That like the epilogue, you need to make peace essentially between Hades and Zeus and the other Olympian gods on Mount Olympus. And the way you're going to do that is forge these bonds, convince them to come down to the underworld, tell them a couple of white lies, but essentially reveal the truth. And essentially you continue to fill your role. Escaping the underworld because Hades still has a responsibility as king of the underworld, that no one escapes without him saying so. So you are testing the security facilities of the underworld with each successive run, and it is crazy to me, back to my original point, that even at this point there are things you're unlocking, new things and new story beats to achieve. You're getting new dialogue. I'm 90 hours in. I don't have all the companions yet, so there are a couple of achievements that I still need to tick off. I'm not as masterful as you, Steve. So yeah, I'm completely blown away by just to my original point, the way that the story facilitates, or it is blended so perfectly with this genre, in a way that, in my mind, creates a masterpiece in the end. So I'm not sure if you have much else to say on the epilogue there.
Just that I do play games for achievements. I can't even deny that I do. It's 600,000 plus at this point. But like honestly, there was a definite transition between when I stopped doing that in Hades because I just wanted to max the relationships, and I wanted to do this, and I wanted to see this to the end. And like that to me, like I'm not ticking boxes anymore. I am, like, by definition I am ticking the boxes, but I want to be ticking the boxes, and I don't really care about like the achievement outcome. Like I just want to see this through. And I think the only relationship I haven't really filled all the way through is with Cerberus. And it's just kind of like one of those things where like I've tried. I just can't give him. I can't give him what he needs apparently, and I've tried. I can let. He doesn't even talk really, so I've done everybody else.
But how great's the narrator though, talking for him and for like the world and describing it as well. Like so humorous as well, particularly when you complete the epilogue, and once you're doing those successive runs, he's just like constructing out of thin air reasons for why you're taken by the river Styx, like the young Prince Zagreus tripped. That's it. Like
he found a bear and he tried to pet him, and it didn't go as well as planned.
Amazing. It's so masterful.
And like and you think that you've seen it all and you've done it all, but you haven't. I don't think anyone. Well, I'm sure someone has probably gotten every single dialogue action ever, but like I've always been surprised in like the most delightful of ways.
Yep. Anyway, I think that'll wrap it up there. That is our spoiler review discussion on Hades. Yeah, go check it out. It's pretty good. It's not bad. So yeah. But Steve, like just quickly, actually, was there anything to add? Because you awarded Hades multiple Game of the Year awards across several categories, including the game itself, indie, and I think direction as well.
Narrative and direction.
Yes,
and Game of the Year. Four total.
Nice.
Like clearly kicked every, like it was Control did the same thing the year before, and Hades this year. So I don't know. It was positioned well, I guess, in terms of like COVID, because you can't do anything without talking about COVID. At least, sorry, I've done it to this, but like it's weird coming off a game like Control and a game like Hades, when like we're ahead of things, and I'm not giving anything away, but like just generally speaking, I don't think there's a game this year that you can say like, oh, just like cleaned up, like did everything so expertly well. Like we're getting hit by this, like things are coming out, but they're maybe a little bit lesser than they could have been because we're all just kind of trying to work together and collaborate in this weird. So it was nice. It's nice to like think back and go like, oh man, that was just so good in every single way.
Yeah.
And like, I want that time to come back again, but I don't think it's going to be, I don't think it's this year, but anyway.
Yeah.
Look at, I'm old man, like shake my head at the clouds next or something.
Yeah, no, I'm keen to see what you and other outlets will win Game of the Year this year, because like you said, I don't think there is a front runner like there was, God of War in 2018, for instance, or for Hades or Last of Us last year. It seems like maybe Deathloop, Metroid Dread even's getting rave reviews. Psychonauts 2 might still be up there, and It Takes Two even. Like, there are definitely some contenders, but
I'm so pessimistic. You're right. Okay, yeah, okay. Never mind. There's
but no one's a front runner, right? Like, no one can say, oh yeah, no, it's like Deathloop's going to clean up, for instance. Like, I think there's a lot of contention. It's going to be interesting. I think it makes for a much more interesting year, and definitely anticipating the awards more. Speaking of awards, if people wanted to check out the Stevivor 2021 Game of the Year eventually, and all the other fantastic work you do on the website, Steve, where should they go?
Stevivor.com. If you go to features, you can go to Game of the Year, which is a category. Read all the things that we've done and all the things that we're doing currently that are more current than the 2021 or 2020 Game of the Year. 2021 Game of the Year isn't out yet. We'll get to that. It's gonna happen. But yeah, no, it's good. It's a busy time, but like, I have all the time in the world for you and all the time in the world for Hades. So happy to have been here. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you coming on. I think you're the first second timer on the show. Like,
you poor man. There's so many better options than me. I apologize.
Yeah, but none quite as thirsty for Thanatos as you. So that it all worked out.
Yeah. And none with like this awesome, like, sometimes going completely blurry camera. That's a bonus.
If they wanted to watch more of your blurry cameras, like, in some of the live content you're making, Steve, where should they go as well?
Anything /Stevivor, Twitch, YouTube, Stevivor, blah 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 blah. I'm Wright. It's Stevivor is like Steven Survivor. It's a stupid thing that I made up 20 years ago when I first came here from Canada, and thinking I was going to be on like Survivor with Jeff Probst. We're doing well. So if you Google that or something resembling that, you'll probably. So please do if you are so inclined.
I've given the Twitch channel a shout out as well, so be sure to go follow Stevivor for more fantastic live content like their Friendly Fire show, which I guess is on not too long ago. Very appreciative to have that opportunity as well. But we're going to wrap up the show here. This has been a very different but no less enjoyable edition of the Question Box. You can watch us every Friday, 8:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time, right here on twitch.tv/magic_casts. If you'd like to check out our past episodes, just search for my YouTube channel, Magic Casts, one word, on YouTube, and see all the other fantastic episodes that we've done. Usually we're covering the biggest and most important news topics in the games each week, and that is a format that will probably return, but every now and then we like to mix it up. You can follow me at magic_cast on Twitter as well. We hope you've enjoyed this. Steve, I've had a blast. Thank you so much for partaking and giving me your Friday evening. It's getting late, so I'll let you go. And to everyone who joined us in chat, thank you so much, and we will see you next time.
Bye.